Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Inspired Life Vancouver. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to bring inspiring locals who are bound to leave you motivated and wanting to follow your dreams. Right now, joining me is a multidisciplinary artist who happens to be an actor, a poet, and has so many projects going on. I'm really inspired what you have accomplished. I'm talking about none other than Anjalica Solomon. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, it's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I know you have so much going on right now. We met because we did a play together earlier this year, Vilka, which means from the heart.
Yes.
And you play my daughter.
Yes.
She is actually old enough to be my daughter. And, we don't need to share your age, but, I will say you are old enough to be my daughter. And I'm so proud of the work you're doing. It's really inspiring for me to see that. And I really wanted to bring you on here just to see your growth and your journey. And, there's so much to talk about. First up, tell me about Maza Collective and congratulations on starting that.
Thank you so much. Yes, it was actually myself and 7 other poets. We're all female or non-binary and poets from across Turtle Island, so-called Canada, that came together because we were all brought up in the spoken word scene, which is like you do your poem and then people put up points. And then the person with the most points wins the slam. So just the structure of that was like we're always competing against each other. And I mean, you might even find that yourself, you're an actor, is that you're kind of always competing with other people who are South Asian or that kind of thing. And we were just like, we don't like this culture of me against you. And it's always, we were finding we were always the token brown girl or token brown queer person doing the poem. And it's like me versus you. But we were like, let's flip that on its head. Let's make a collective that is for us, for South Asian voices to shine and like hear each other, because a lot of people are like, oh, okay, you check the box, token, whatever. But we're like, we're so much more than that. And so we did it. We created a collective. We got some funding from the Canada Council. And we just launched our project. You can watch mazaartscollective.com. And it's 5 poetry videos and 18 poems from South Asian poets across the country. A lot of them are women, a lot of them are queer,
Babe, I'm so proud of you. Such a boss, babe. You're such a boss, babe. And I love the fact that you're not limiting yourself to, I'm just an artist who paints or creates these beautiful videos. And I love the fact that you created this powerful goddess video with these stunning women and with the poet, and the whole concept is fantastic. You're acting.
Yeah.
You're writing a book.
Yeah.
What do you not do?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't dance that much. You saw me dance a little bit in the
You're
play.
Better than me. You're better than me.
Yeah, but I don't want to limit myself as an artist because I'm a full human, and my humanity is not just one thing or the other. And also, I get really bored with one thing. So if I'm trying to write my book and I'm bored, or if there's too much pressure, I go and learn how to produce a song, or I have lots of different collaborations because being an artist is so lonely. It's so lonely, and I don't like that feeling. Sometimes you do need to sit with your own words and sit with that solitude to create something, but I would rather just do a collaboration, meet people, get to know them, and say like, what do we have in common, and what can we make together? That's what inspires me.
Yeah. I love your mindset, Anjalica. Yeah. Especially what you said earlier about not this competition thing of, oh, I'm going to compete with this person because she's another South Asian model or actor or a poet or writer or whatever, versus being like, hey, why don't we do something together?
Yeah.
Or I also know, like, while doing this show, I think I've gotten in touch with people that I think we've gone for the same jobs, or hard, I was hard one year, they're hard the next year, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they were surprised to hear from me that I'm reaching out to be like, hey, I want to bring you on my show, because I do think the world is big enough for everyone. And the fact that you're thinking like this right now, that is very, very inspiring. And the more conversations you can have like this, and especially I think in media and in our industry, or as an artist, just because the work isn't like all around. And then when you add the fact that, we're brown and XYZ and certain age and whatever, because the work is limited. So there can be this tendency of like, no, I just gotta hide this work just for myself or my contact or whatever, versus when you embrace. So I find, have you always been like that? Have you always been like, let's work together in a team, let's see how I can learn from you and how we can support each other?
Yeah, well, in university, I was looking for my people. I had come out of a pretty small, pretty conservative Christian small school with like graduating class of 20, and it was beautiful. But going to university, suddenly I found myself like kind of floating, going like, who am I? Where do I belong? And I was really lucky, and I think blessed. I think like I believe in like a higher power that blessed me to put me in the path where I met a bunch of beautiful poets through like the poetry community at UBC, and got involved with organizing, and we all moved in together in this beautiful house. And those are really the people who like became my family. And they were like, Anjalica, like you need to do this with your life, like you can't go to law school like that,
Was that your journey?
Yeah, like when I was
I did not. What?
Well, when I was in high school, I was like, I think I had a lot of like programming or conditioning to be like, this is what a person does. You go to university, you go to law school.
Coming from like our part of the world, yeah.
And like I'm a writer, so naturally my immigrant parents were like, okay, well, you probably can't be an engineer. That would be dangerous for everybody. But like you can write, so that naturally we're like, have you thought about law? Like, because I'm a gabber, like I talk a lot, so they're like, oh, like clearly this is the profession. Like they've always supported me in their own way of like encouraging me to be myself, to get on stage and everything. But I feel like I've gone on a slightly a tangent. But long story short is they were like, you can't go to law school, Anjalica, you're an artist. And they like that community really held me there. And because I was so blessed to receive that, I just know that like being an artist, you need community, because all we have is each other. These systems of oppression, capitalism, white supremacy, all of these things, like they don't have our back. Industry doesn't have our back. So community is all you have and all you can create.
And sometimes I find like I love my family, but some of my closest friendships and relationships have been with like other photographers and actors. And like I lived in Paris for a few years, in LA and here, and like in other different cities, New York, Toronto. And those are the people who are driving me to the airport at like 7 a.m. And you're just like, wow, like doing this family. And I do feel that when you create together, you go deep really fast. Like me and Tiara know that. We've definitely gone through, you get to know people really fast. So tell me about Glow Motive.
Yeah. So in 2020, I was just graduated university, and I was thinking about what I wanted to do. And I've always sang. I grew up in a very Christian environment where I was always pushed to the front to sing because I could. But I wanted to write my own songs and write my own music and create my own stuff. And I went to this conference for women, even though I'm also non-binary and kind of gender fluid, but it was this conference for women in the music industry. And I met this other amazing non-binary human, beautiful person, Ocean Pendarkar. And we were just so amazed to meet each other because we were both South Asian. We're both kind of like gender fluid. We're both like very queer. And it was like this instant connection of recognition of like, in this room of people who are somewhat like me, like you are like me. And yeah, I heard their music and I was immediately like, oh my goodness, I love this person. And then the lockdown happened, and I was like learning to produce on my own, and I guess I just emailed Ocean, and we started. I was like, hey, I wrote this thing, I just wanted to share it with you, and Ocean was like, oh, like, do you want to like build this song together? And we like wrote a song over email in the pandemic from our homes, and then finally, like when you're coming out of lockdown, we started just writing more and more songs together, and it felt really exciting, and it was like, okay, let's start a band. Let's navigate this industry together, because it can be a really A, cutthroat, and B, as I mentioned, isolating. Especially there's like a lot of cis white men that dominate music. It's just the fact. So if you're like queer, non-binary, brown skin, like nobody knows what box to put you in, really. But it's like, okay, we're gonna do this together. And the more we perform, the more people are like, wow, I have never seen anybody like you guys performing,
I heard your music, and when we were doing the play, you have such a beautiful voice.
Aww.
And what I love is, the fact that you're writing, but also the visual aspect. So I can see you having this vision, like even for your poetry, the Maza Collective. I can really see that you're writing this, but you also want to give the people this experience of what that feels like, beyond words. So it's almost like a treat, a visual treat.
Yeah, I always see sometimes when I write poems, like visions of how I want it to be shared beyond, because I'm a spoken word artist. So I think a lot of poets, like, they write and they're like, okay, that's the writing, it's done, it's on the paper, it's done. But because I came up in a culture of speaking to an audience, I think that was really important to me, is making sure that the poem is heard and like felt. And also I think I've always just been a secret filmmaker, like in my heart. Like I don't think I've ever really pursued making a film per se, but it's just my little way of like satisfying that itch in my brain that's like, oh, let's make a movie.
But I totally see that, because even the photos, like, do you take the photos? Like,
I had a friend take them.
Okay, but definitely your
my
vision,
direction and kind of creative,
because it's all kind of similar.
Yeah,
because even the glow motive press photos are
very
kind of
silky.
Very feminine. Like they make me think of my art, like my paintings over there. It's a vibe. Yeah.
Totally. I think you can definitely, if you look at my work, you see that, okay, this is Anjalica's distinct style, and so anything I touch turns into like gold silk.
I love it. I remember during the first time we did our reading for Dilka, which means play. From the heart, of the heart. That's how we met earlier this year. End of January, beginning of February. I forget.
That was this year.
Honestly, this year's, I feel like it's been such a busy year. It feels like a year ago. Like literally, we're not even halfway through. It feels like a year ago. And when you were reading it, I loved how you were reading it, because I remember coming up to you and saying, I really like listening to your voice, because it was very melodic. And at that time, I didn't really know that, you did all this spoken word poetry and like all these other interests that you had. Tell me about Dilka. Your character's name is Zara.
Yes. It was very
and I
fitting
play
that
your
you
mom.
were playing my mom. Yeah, it was such a beautiful play written by Leena Sar, and it has at the center of it this queer Muslim Pakistani girl, which I'm not Muslim or Pakistani, but I'm South Asian and also raised in a very religious household, so I could relate to a lot of things of like the shame of being queer, or like societal norms, being pressured. My family thankfully has not pressured me into getting married, because I think like by this point I've established that I am like a weirdo of the family. I'm like, sorry guys, this is what you got. But like I really related to this character who's like having this societal pressure of you need to marry this boy. I related to it in the sense of like, oh my gosh, she's grappling with her inner queerness, which is really like maybe just a year ago something that I was feeling of like, how do I tell my family that I'm not about this life? Like, I'm sorry, I'm never gonna like be that person. And so I really related to that character, and the moments we shared also on screen where my character, whose name is Zara, who is my character is Pakistani, as literally your name is Zara, like your actual name is Zara,
and literally like what the mom's character who I play, she's saying, because I've heard those things, you know. And the mom says to the daughter, so what do you want to be? Travel the world, live by yourself, and have a dog all by yourself, which is like what
like
I've
having
done
a conversation with yourself.
with myself. But I know what it's like to be on the receiving end, and I got to play the person who is on the other end, which I know it comes from a place of love and wanting to make sure that your child is going to be safe, and this is just their way of like showing love. Yet at the same time, it's like perhaps that is your idea of happiness and freedom, but it's not my idea. Not that I'm against it. I'm not against it, but I don't think that this is the only way. You know, that so now this play, like all of us had like all these like supporting roles. And you know, I loved how you shared the story, and that was your first play. And it was a full on, we literally had less than 10 days.
It was.
And, you know, and the material is beautiful, yet the responsibility of carrying that and sharing this story, and it was at the Shadbowl Center in Burnaby. I thought you did a phenomenal job. And, you know, we had a great director, Trisha, you know, the way the notes that were given, and very specific to help build this beautiful set, like the set design, our sound design, like all these people did such a phenomenal job. What was it like for you to know that you're carrying this burden? Not like burden, but this is on you.
It was a lot of pressure.
As, you know, the first play that you're doing, and you are the star.
It was a lot of pressure because I felt like a lot of people were depending on me, you know, and but it was also really beautiful I felt so supported, like you said, like everyone was like having these supportive roles. I felt so supported by having a stage manager, director, having a marketing team, because in the past, like even though this was my first play where I was like the lead and somebody else wrote it, in that sense that it was like, in some ways it was my first play, but I have done, you know, Fringe, like the Vancouver Fringe Festival, where like me and my friend just chaotically like wrote our own play and like did the Fringe, and that was so difficult because we were like producing, you know, managing, marketing, box office, everything's on you. So to be supported by like
a team,
you know, compensation, schedule, like, you know, I felt like, wow, we're finally bringing this to life. And to play the character was definitely, I went deep. I think with my own experience of queerness, it's not something that I've really shared so publicly and so vulnerably. And there's really some moments where my character's like beating the ground, like beating her chest, you know, like it goes there, which is the magic of theater, which is like that like spark of live theater.
And then you could hear the pin drop silence. And I remember, you know, because you have these beautiful like flashback moments, or when you're talking about your mom and dad, and like me and Rahul were like, I'm like going from one scene being up front to like going backstage, and I'm like running around, where am I going? And we're in the dark. And like I'd done theater before as well, but not like a full on the way this one was, and the amount of time. I thought you did a phenomenal job, and you know, I hope that it does get to have a full run, you know, next year. Tell me what's next for you. What do you have coming up? Because I know this last little while you also had a gallery opening in Surrey.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So there, my friend Chelsea Franz, has a society, Enable Art Society, which connected with 5X Festival, which is like a South Asian music festival based in Surrey, which connected with the Surrey Art Gallery. And this connection happened before me, but my wonderful friend Franz invited me into it and said, hey, they're giving us this opportunity to have an artist residency at the gallery. Would you like to come in and be a part of it? And for me, I'm kind of like a yes man. I'm like, okay, let's go. Like, let's do it. And sometimes I agree to things that I don't know what we're gonna do, but I agreed to it, and it was this beautiful experience where we took poetry that we had written, basically about
Like that you had written, or like Glow Collective?
So
or...
I wrote a poem, Franz had written a poem, Alyssa, also Amarshi, who's a dancer, wrote a poem, and our theme was joyful nourishment. And really we wanted to talk about what are the ways that you've been taught how to love, and who taught you how to love. So we really, the theme was Masi medicine, which is like Masi in so many South Asian dialects means your mom's aunt. I think we just like the sound Masi medicine, but really it was about like, there's so many people that teach us how to care for each other. And so I wrote a poem about like my grandmother's love. Franz wrote a poem about self-love. Alyssa wrote a poem about slowing down in this like busy hustle culture. And we took photos of like different ways that we love each other, like feeding each other fruit. And Alyssa, who's a mover, did like this beautiful mindful movement meditation. And we invited other people to come and write poetry in the art gallery, in the space, about their own, people are sharing poems about their grandmothers and about their own masis, and women who have maybe like passed away as well, who taught them how to love in different ways. And
I love this so much. And I feel like until like you sharing this, I haven't really heard of someone else doing something similar. Other than I can compare this to the Yoko Ono exhibit that I went to twice, where there was, about like writing like letters to your mom, and my mom's passed away.
I went to that,
yeah. And that's actually what inspired me to get membership to the art gallery. And how long is your exhibit on till?
It's on till June 18th, and June 18th is going to be the art party with 5X Fest.
Okay.
So if folks end up going, that will be really beautiful. They'll have like music in the gallery, and it'll probably be really busy. And like,
I think this episode will probably be airing afterwards, but we can talk about that on social media.
Yeah.
That's so brilliant. And it's up to you, but are we allowed, can we share your age on television?
Yeah, I'm 26.
At 26, you're such a boss, babe. I'm so proud of you and so inspired by you. You're doing so much fantastic work and really inspiring me. Now, before we started rolling today, we were talking about you writing a book.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So in 2020, my grandfather passed away. I called him my dadu. And so my dadu passed away, and I was just in so much grief, and I was just writing because, it was the pandemic. I lost all my jobs. I had like 3 jobs. I was hustling, like, you know me, I'm a hustler. So I was like juggling these jobs. I lost them all. It was so quiet. There was the grief of my grandfather's passing, and then the pandemic, which I don't know if everyone still remembers those first few months of like lockdown, where it was like, wow, it feels like the whole world is changing. And in that change, in that grief, I began writing. And so that's really the seed, and the seed that sprouted this whole book. But really it's been a journey. I've been doing spoken word poetry since I was 16. Now I'm 26. So, that's like 10 years worth of poetry. Not all of those poems I wrote in 10 years are in the book, but definitely like little seeds from that I've collected over the years are in the book. And I wrote poems about my family, so many poems about my grandmother's love. And the book is called Apocalypse Joy. And it was really,
I love that.
And it was really out of this feeling that came from like, okay, at the end of the world, or like at what feels like, the edge of like climate change, natural disasters, like systems shutting down, how am I gonna like love and create community. And I still ask myself that question. I don't even know if I answered that question fully, but that was like what my editor, Alessandra Nacarado, says. She says that's the compass, and that's like your true north is like, okay, I'm pointing towards joy, but like this is where I'm at right now. And so that's what the book is about, and hopefully it will come out soon with Bright Bloody North. It's been through a few editing cycles now, so it's at the space where it's like it's done, all the poems are there. Maybe I'll add one or two more if I feel like if I really take the care to, which I will. It's almost ready to be published, but I'm holding on to it right now. It's like my little baby right now, that it's like just for me. Although I perform the poems pretty frequently because I do a lot of shows, so a lot of people might have heard one or two of them, but yeah, to have them all in one place is really special. I was really lucky to have also Canada Council funding for that. Brad Morden from Bright Bloody North really, really championed me to do that. And sometimes people you don't know that well see you, and then you become really good friends because they're like, hey, I see what you're doing, and I'm gonna support you. And so I feel really blessed in that sense, because I know there's lots of amazing poets out there that deserve their books to be published, and I just feel blessed to have that opportunity.
That's so beautiful. I feel you, but obviously there's something that you're doing, and people can feel your heart.
Yeah.
What do you think inspires you in life?
Wow. So many things inspire me in life. I think other people who persevere, like my parents came here to Canada as immigrants, and they did everything that they could to bring me to where I am, that I could be this quirky, like queer artist, poet person, but it's really on the back of like my dad, who came to this place and like worked as a security guard and had like 4 degrees, but like, hustled to put me through my education and put me through piano lessons and like encourage me. Like, that inspires me. My friends who ground me to the ground, because I'm an ideas person, as you know, as we talked about this whole half an hour. I'm always thinking of different things, but my friends who bring me to go camping, go and be in nature and rest and be with the world. It's a beautiful place, and yeah, there's so many things that inspire me. Honestly, if you just stop and look around and look within to your dreams, that's placed in us. I believe that all our dreams and our visions we have are placed in us because we're meant to pursue them. And so I feel inspired by myself, my own dreams.
That's beautiful. I love that. And it's kind of like what Snoop Dogg said, I thank me.
Yeah.
But our dreams are there for a reason, like when you talk about solitude, I can relate to that so much, because being a performer, whether as a TV host, actor, or I do a lot of content creation for Instagram, a lot of times there's this output, this energy output.
Yeah.
But I get replenished when I'm by myself, like, just sitting on my balcony for 2-3 hours. And sometimes I just need that, or just to look at the clouds. And, when you were mentioning about your dad working in security, like my mom used to do that. She's passed away now, and at Vancouver Film School, and she wanted me to act, and I was modeling back then, and I was like, because I was such a rebel, I will not do what she wants me to do, And then lo and behold, like I got into acting, and I was doing all of that, and it's like the gratitude that we have for our parents to come here, that we get to lead the lives that, because I know for sure I wouldn't be able to have this life in my country of origin, which I'm very grateful for, but I'm so grateful to be in Canada and to be Canadian.
Yeah.
What's happening for you next? What's
So many things,
Tell me.
always.
Yes.
Well, I definitely will be putting my book out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe by the time it airs, it will be closer to be putting out. But people can kind of keep up with me usually on Instagram or my website. On Instagram, I'm Anjalica, and on my website, it's anjalica.com. So people can follow there. My book, Apocalypse Joy, will be coming out eventually soon with Right Bloody North. My band Glow Motive is definitely sitting on some masters of songs, and we're just waiting to film our music videos to put those out. So always there's music. Folks can check out mazaartscollective.com, which launched as we're filming this. It launched yesterday.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And other than that,
Not
Yeah.
busy at all. We're not,
Not busy at
at
all.
all. When are you sleeping? When do you sleep? Are you working in your
Honestly,
sleep?
This week I'm going camping just to celebrate all the chaos of this last month. It's been like so beautiful and abundant, but also
Sometimes
I
you
need to
need that
rest.
disconnect. Like for the last few days, like for yesterday alone,
Yes.
I did not go because it felt like a few days. It was literally one day I didn't post on Instagram stories, and I was like, you need that disconnect. And I know, like for me, like when I get outdoors, when I even go for a hike or get into the woods, especially when there's no cell phone connection, it really helps my brain and nervous system to relax.
Yeah.
So with the show being the Inspired Life Vancouver, I love to ask everyone, where do you like to go in Vancouver to get inspired?
Pacific Spirit Park is one of my favorite spots to go, just to be amongst the trees that feel older and like walk through, and I really feel that stillness and quiet, which is when I can go inward and be inspired. And also just Wreck Beach is always just such a vibe to me, like because I find that I can't see the like city towers from that beach, so it feels like I'm on a different planet, but it's I'm in Vancouver, and we're so lucky that we get to experience that in this place.
And everything is like right here. I remember going to Whistler a few weekends ago for work, and normally whenever driving up to Whistler, it's like we make all these stops and gotta stop in Squamish, gotta have lunch, all these things. But it literally took an hour and a half to get up there because we didn't stop. And then how we have this big change in all the nature around, and you can tell the air smells just different. And it was during the week, and there's barely anyone there, and there's still some snow. It was so, so beautiful. What do you love about living in Vancouver?
What I love about living here, well, I grew up here. I was born in Chandigarh, India, and I came here when I was quite young. And people always ask me, like, oh, do you want to live somewhere else? You lived here your whole life. And of course, like, I know you've lived all over the world in Paris and stuff. Of course, like, that would be such a beautiful dream. But I love it here because, like, truly my friend said, like, what is your vision? Where do you want to live? And I closed my eyes and I just pictured the forest here. And I love walking, listening to the birds, being in nature. And also because I grew up here and I have community here, I love the arts community here. It's supported me so much. And if I moved to a different city, I don't know. I mean, I would always be an artist, but I don't know how I would do what I do without the community that's like really had my back. You included in that.
Of course, my pleasure. I certainly feel the same way. I feel like I certainly am experiencing Vancouver so much differently since coming back from Paris, because even before Paris, when I lived here, I was working on my visa to move to LA and all that jazz. But I feel more than anything now how nature, this beautiful natural abundance around us, how it impacts my nervous system, how when I'm doing a big hike and when there's no cell reception or, you know, just the quietness, that how much my mind needs that. Because just like you know, on the phone, emails, all of this, because you're working on all these various projects. And I do hope to travel some more, but I do find the community that we have here and the natural abundance here is so much. It's certainly, I love calling Vancouver home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely not planning on moving anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy
It's an
schedule.
honor to
Oh.
be here as a part of your show. I know you have like amazing people on this show, so I'm just honored to be in the mix.
Of course, honey. And it is my pleasure to have you. And I'm really excited to see what else you're going to be doing, but really proud to know you and to see the success you have had at 26 in all these different ventures. And you inspire me.
You inspire me. Thank you.
My pleasure. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and stay tuned for more inspiring conversations right here on the Inspired Life Vancouver.